We are live on YouTube.
That's great.
So we're just configuring the Twitter at the moment, folks, for those of you tuning
no
in.
worries about it.
No worries about it. It should be working. If not, welcome. It's Emmett Ryan here, obviously calling Europe. I'm joined wonderfully from One and from the LC16 show and many other things, Moshe Barta. Moshe, my man, how are we?
Well, we're doing great, I guess. We have the finals show. And it is the final preview, so we cannot over.
Yeah, it's the big one. It's Fenerbahce, it's Monaco, and this is the bit where I have to take over the phones. Moshe, you set the scene while I'm doing all this.
Sure.
Yeah, you set the scene. Tell us what we're looking forward to
So
here.
basically, we're going to have Monaco, we're going to have Olympiacos, and in between, we're just going to have plain old fun. So some might say that the biggest surprise was Monaco making it to the finals, but to us, it wasn't. It's just the way that the Monaco made their way to the finals. It felt like Olympiacos weren't there. They managed to cancel them with rather ease. So I guess in a way, this just goes to show and to prove, don't rule them out. Don't. I've been talking to a lot of guys, and everyone we're saying the same thing, the exact same thing, and that is, Fener are favorites, but we can never really rule out Monaco.
Yeah.
And I understand where it's coming from. I have to be honest. I truly do understand where it's coming from.
Okay.
So if that makes sense, I think without further ado,
I think we're not going to be on Mevo, by the way, unfortunately. We're just going to be on this YouTube because I can't get this configure Moshe.
No, it's okay. So you take control and I'll try to do it on my end.
Okay, so Moshe's going to have to start again on the Mevo stuff. Well, I'll talk about what I thought about the two semifinals. So our first semifinal, obviously, was Fenerbahce and Panathinaikos. But I have one similarity I'm going to mention across both of them, and Moshe's trying to sort this out. So, and that was both of them knew what they wanted to do, restrict the other. So with Fenerbahce, it's how they wanted to restrict Panathinaikos. With AS Monaco, it's how they wanted to restrict Olympiacos. And I think in that one respect, if you were looking at the two semifinals, the one commonality the victors had was that ability to restrict what the other side wanted to do. Mm-hmm. And to me, that's one of the biggest storylines coming into this final is who is going to do better at restricting the other team and what they want to do. Because you've seen both of them are very, very good at that, at limiting at making the opponent offensively predictable, mm-hmm. which I felt both Panathinaikos and Olympiacos looked very much so on Friday, and it was very much the doing of Fenerbahce and AS Monaco. And I look at this and I kind of go, right, can AS Monaco make it predictable for Fenerbahce? I think that's going to be very, 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 very tough because of the wealth of options they have. At the same time, Moshe, mm-hmm. I think the same can be said for Fenerbahce doing to AS Monaco, because even though Mike James is the guy, we saw Alpha Diallo, we saw Jerome Blossom game, we saw Mam Jaitai at different moments show that they could step up and be that person. And as a result, to me, it's that ability to restrict who does better at it mm-hmm. is going to have the bigger edge in this game.
For sure, but I think something is a bit overlooked here. I think this is what creates a misconception here. As for who's favorite and who's not, and I'll explain why. If it's okay.
Absolutely, fire it will.
Everyone's saying Fener are the deeper team, in a way, right? We have this kind of thing in our minds that Fener are deeper. But let's do a roster rundown for a sec. Who does Monaco who do they got in the backcourt?
Well, they got Jordan Lloyd, who's hardly seen a minute, and he's obviously
which means he's probably going to be fresh. Yes.
Very fresh.
Mm-hmm.
Okobo.
Lots of firepower.
And again, wasn't overused. Yeah, Brazel, not overused.
And he could do stuff, obviously.
And but the other thing to note as well is that from the other side of that, while they were very good at keeping usage reasonable for most of their roster, Jerome Blossom game sat for less than 3 minutes in total on Friday, and Blossom game had a huge game. I would say even more so when he didn't have the ball in hand, he had a huge game. Oddly, even though he did lots with the ball in hand, I felt his off-ball work in particular was crucial to Monaco in that outing, Moshe, mm-hmm. and that it really made a difference.
Now I will ask Amit to. In the meantime, we're still figuring out. But
Moshe's still trying to get us onto X, but we're keeping going on YouTube. Where I hope we're being reasonably coherent, Moshe, for the rest of the people.
I do really hope so.
I hope so too. So Moshe, let's break down what you like about Fenerbahce and what I like about Fenerbahce. What I like about Fenerbahce, and I've said it all season, is they are the most immune to their best player or players having an off night. That there's someone else who can step up. We saw it with Devin Hall being the guy. He's not the fellow you expect to be the guy. Well, the consensus. When I say you, I know you look deeper.
Yeah, of course.
But the consensus expected to be the guy. In that game. And like likewise, like Nicola Melli hardly played the first half, and then hardly sat the second because of the role he did. So I love their ability to work out who was the person in the moment, even if our best player isn't doing it. I even spoke with this about Nigel Hayes-Davis before the Final Four started. And like Nigel was saying, it's like I was saying, Nigel, you don't have many off nights, but if you do, you can relax and you know someone's going to step up. And he goes, yeah, thanks for that, by the way. But yeah, you're right. Thanks for saying you don't have many off nights. But like, you're right. It is great that I know that if it's not my night, it isn't a catastrophe. That like somebody else can step up, somebody else can get it done, and that's huge. What I suppose I dislike most about Fenerbahce is that they can get a little too comfortable when things are going well. And by that I mean when they were restricting Panathinaikos, I think they fell into it. Okay, we're restricting them, and that allowed Pau to make it a game at the half, despite being utterly and wholly outplayed. Like Fener got a bit lazy on their shooting, got a bit sort of softer on the D because they thought, well, we know what Panathinaikos are going to do, so we can stop them for getting. You still have to stop them, It's like, but they can get a little too cozy is my one concern, because it's almost like they need to be under pressure to bring out the best in them, and like that's not the worst trait to have, but it is people forget. Basketball, yes, it gets the winner gets decided in the final minutes, but the result gets decided over 40.
Exactly.
And it's one of the reasons I've always like I say Sertak Stanley. Sertak Stanley is one of the best first three quarter centers in Euroleague. Over the years, he's not the guy you want in the fourth quarter, but those opening minutes, he can be the guy that changes the game so that you're where you want to be entering the fourth. And so it's like remembering the roles, remembering that each possession does matter. It's not about being in there in the final few minutes. It's about what you did to be in there in the final few minutes. And frankly, when you're up 10, you shouldn't be sitting back. You should be thinking, how do we go up 20? When you're up 20, how do we go up 30? Like that, it's like, I know it sounds silly, but the point is, well, not to you, but yeah.
It perfectly makes sense, because listen, you want to kill the game. If you don't kill the game, you're going to get killed, sadly. Yeah. Sorry for using, it's not fun.
You're going to get beaten up, yeah.
No, but listen. Exactly. You know what? You cannot put your, let's do a Fast and Furious reference. when you got your foot on the tiger's neck, don't lift it.
Exactly. And like I think too often Fenerbahce ease up in the pressure.
Yes.
When they're up. Monaco, on the other hand, what I don't like about them is that. What I do like about them is that they are bold when it comes to decision making. That involves Spanoulis will happily sit a guy against one opponent in an important game, and in the very next game use that same guy against either the same or a different opponent, because he's seeing what's needed in the moment. Like they are very bold, very decisive, and like they know what they want from tempo. I suppose what I oddly don't like is that I don't think we see enough shooting from the backcourt other than Mike James. And by shooting, I don't even mean good shooting. I mean literally getting those shots up just to keep the opponent guessing. Like I think it is a little too easy for them to rely on the wings, to rely on the front court to bring the shooting. And outside of Mike, and like they got front court guys who can score, great. But I think if you want to stop yourself being a predictable offense, you've got to still remember you have to have guys who may not necessarily be scorers, who are going to be taking shots to make the opponent respect that shot.
Of course. But if we're talking Mike James, and we are.
Oh, yeah, well, how are we not?
I mean...
how are we not talking Mike
James?
Yeah,
silly us.
Yes.
So, when we're talking Mike, here's the thing you should know. The game he delivered on Friday night was perhaps the most complete and impressive display of basketball. It was the most mature display that I've seen from Mike. And I'm not going to say ever, because he delivered a few of those, along the years. But
it was timing, because it's one thing to know when it's your time.
Exactly. To see such a thing in Euroleague semifinals, in the Final Four, it is something special.
But for him to know when it wasn't his time, that to me was the maturity. Because Mike James, he's got a guy he's got a permanent green light. We know that.
Yeah.
But for him to know when, this is not the time. This is the time for me to be the distraction, not the option.
Mm-hmm.
And so the number of times he would go, right, I'm going to be the distraction. So Duran can do something. So Alpha can do something. So Mam can do something. Like his willingness, his unselfishness. But no, actually, I wouldn't even say unselfishness. His selfishness in willingly being a distraction, he bled into that. So Mike's ability to know when it wasn't his time was almost as important as when he knew it was his time.
That reminds me of the David Blue effect that we kept talking about. There are certain players that the moment they step on the floor, it's like you got to pay attention, because if not, they're going to hit you fast, they're going to hit you hard, and before you know it.
But Blue, again, a guy who always knew when it wasn't his time.
No, but that's
I'm agreeing. Yeah.
But again, the moment the guy stepped on the floor, you knew you got to have someone on him. Yeah. There's no open looks, and even then, it didn't necessarily help.
Yeah,
because that guy could smell blood in clutch.
Like he would make life easier for his backcourt by being, a defensive draw, as in he would draw people over to him defensively, extra numbers, and like he would make life easier for the backcourt players working around him. Like you think about what a Tyrese would have working with or Ricky back in that 2014 side, for example. Having a David Blue doing David Blue off-ball stuff was so useful.
Of course.
And that's I think what we're seeing with Mike in this is off ball has really found a new level here.
But David Blue, what was special about him, and I know like the guy's retired for like ages.
Yeah.
But the guy had a reverse transformation of an aging shooter.
True.
Because aging shooters had a tendency like to wait on the perimeter and just give me the ball and line down the shot.
I am thinking we are talking a bit too much about David Blue.
No, I know, but the thing is with Mike James, there's something that's so spectacular about him that it's not maybe it's a reverse mentality of an aging combo guard, because combo scorers have the tendency to think shooting first, making putting points on the scoreboard first. But now you see him playing like pacing himself. That is the word. Or like he knows, like you said, when to attack, when to go inside. He knows when to go for that pull-up three, and he knows when to pass.
Yeah, and so I think that's what we've been seeing with Mike. Like he doesn't feel like he has to do everything. Now he knows he can be, he doesn't be number one possession option on every possession. Okay. So let's talk about the emotional storylines. I want to get into those a little bit.
How can we talk about them without getting emotional? We have Sharks on one end.
Well, I was going to focus on Mike first, if that's okay, then get to the coaches. So because we've been talking about Mike, like Mike has been, he's the Euroleague all-time top scorer. He's last year's MVP.
He was the Golden Langford
winner twice, which is for best free throws. And but like for me, like people, it's easy to overlook this. This is Mike James' first time at the Final Four. It's the second time at the Final Four, first one in the championship game. And he's for a guy who's done so much, achieved so much. He hasn't had that many shots. Third time at the Final Four. Forgot about Baskonia.
That was the Final Four.
But he's fell at the semi-final whenever he's gotten here. This is his first time in the championship game, and like for him, this is a huge opportunity to like sort of make a mark, to be the impact guy, and to like make his presence like properly felt. And like so, to me, that jumps out hugely. And I know we're hopefully going live on another platform soon as well, by the way. So there may be a slight stutter in about 3-10 seconds, folks. But while we're doing that, so the other emotional things we're going to be discussing while we're seeing that working obviously are the two coaches involved, and also a little bit of Nicola Melli on the Fenerbahce side. So we'll start off with the coaches. And the first coach we're going to talk about, we'll stick with the Monaco side, Vassilis Spanoulis. So context, last year in another competition, with an unfancied Peristeri side, he brought them to the Final Four. That was his first full season as a head coach. In this competition, in his maiden season as a head coach, he has made it to the championship game. And of course, he took out, his beloved side in the process. He had that wonderful moment with Evan Fournier. But like for Vassilis Spanoulis, man, his legacy was written at the Final Four. In Final Four's past. Like, what for you are you feeling when you look at this? Like, what would this be in his career in the case of victory and defeat?
My God. I mean, you just have to look at him during the opening presser of the Final Four. The guy was so humble. Like, he was, he couldn't even look straight. He, at you.
Yeah.
And, but you got this vibe that, given the chance, you will be killed because his name is Kill Bill.
His name is Kill Bill.
And if we're honest about we were the ones who kind of coined he is the stuff that Hattori Hanzo swords are made of.
Absolutely.
You cannot rest against him. Like the level of preparation, the level of control. it's like he takes control and he gives you control at the same time. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think that is like pure strength. That's like a power move from a coach.
Yeah, like for me, like what we're seeing with him, it's a phenomenal first season as a EuroLeague head coach, and obviously if he loses, he'll personally feel it's a bad thing for him. But like the rest of the world is still going to say, what an achievement.
Of course, listen, in the first year, I think it hasn't been done since the great Željko Obradović.
Well, first year's Georgios Bartzakas' first year as EuroLeague head coach was actually
2013 with the back-to-back.
It wasn't his first year as a head coach. It was first year as a EuroLeague head coach. So
closer to Željko.
Yeah, closer to Željko.
That is symbolic as hell.
Absolutely.
All things considered.
Yeah, and so to say, I think he's the first guy since Željko to do it within his first 2 seasons overall head coaching.
Yes.
And so. But that's huge. Now, looking at the other side, Sarunas Jasikevicius is still a very young coach. You forget, like he's not 50 yet. But like, and he's been to 6 Final Fours in total. This is his 5th straight. Of course, 3 with Barcelona, 2 with Fenerbahce. 1 final appearance with Barcelona. His only other final appearance prior to today. But of course, no trophies as a head coach yet. Like we go from Sarunas, because like I remember, like in Sarunas was like in the early days head coaching when he did so well with Zalgiris, and when he got that final appearance with the loaded Barcelona roster during the pandemic, like we were saying, okay, this guy is one of the hottest prospects in European coaching. He has established himself as being one of the top European coaches.
He established himself as the Final Four contractor, meaning you want to get to the Final Four, you take him.
You take him. But the one thing he hasn't got yet, of course, is
the
belt, the title, the championship. He hasn't won the championship as a head coach, and I think that's the one that's...
In all fairness, like, sorry for cutting you off here, but in all fairness, if you really look at look at things closely and really analyze them, first time it was with Žalgiris. Nobody really expected.
Nobody expected.
And you have your Mega Madrid team and you have Mega Fener on that Final Four.
Yeah.
So just making it there was special. Char's magic. Now, Barcelona, we can say some stuff. So better off.
Banterlona, as Lewis would call them.
My man, you went violent.
I went violent.
Yeah.
Because they have been kind of, apart from the Saris runs, they've been banter team for about 10 years, if not longer. And but of course, and last year's Fener side was sort of happy to be there. I don't mean they were, but for the rest of EuroLeague, them getting there, that was the goal, and they got there. This year they've come here and the goal is to win it, as in that's what people expect from them. And obviously very impressive. They of course took down the defending champions in the semi-final. AS Monaco of course took down the number 1 overall seed, and I know we have the curse, but still. And
like we said, the jinx is getting weaker, the curse is getting stronger.
So like a lot of pressure on Saras.
Or not.
Okay.
I guess the only thing to do is like wait and see how it unfolds.
Yeah, because again, he's not 50 yet, folks. He's got a long coaching career ahead.
And honestly, I could not but agree with what Kill Bill told him.
The worst thing is that we don't have the ball.
We don't have the ball.
So
just imagine if these two had the ball.
The last player I want to talk about, person I want to talk about from the emotional side, is Nicolo Melli. Obviously, he's won a EuroLeague previously with Fenerbahce. Went to Milan, thought he was going to finish his career in Milan. That did not end well. And he's back at Fenerbahce. And kind of for him to, after, the ending of Milan as it was, if he could in his first season with Fenerbahce, is his first season, isn't it? In this season of Fenerbahce, having impressed so much in the second half of that semi-final, for him to get another championship, I mean, there's few players you could be happier for. Like Mike James would be the only player I could be happier for winning a Final Four here.
But there's his story and there's the Wade Boston story.
Yeah,
like you can.
Wade's of course 6 years ago as well. Yeah,
look, Wade and Bonzi were 5.5 minutes away, I think, 2 seasons ago from making it to the Final Four.
Yeah.
And in an excruciating,
thrilling series, by the way.
Yeah. Oh my God. But excruciating, tiresome season last year. For
obvious reasons, which we won't get into because of YouTube.
We won't get into because
that's it, but YouTube won't like it, motion.
For me, it's more for a very specific reason, and that reason actually is we want to talk about happy things right now.
Exactly, and there's that, but at the same time, I gotta go, Nicolo. Like the way things have gone, But the stuff he can't say as well with him, is what I'm thinking of here. I mean, it would be a lot.
I mean, it's that. You know what? Look at the bench. Obviously, there is the emotional side of Wade Baldwin and Bonzi Colson. There's also Scotty Wilbekin sitting on the bench, not being able to play.
Yeah, that's really tough for Scotty.
I mean, great stories all around, because we know that making it to the Final Four is fun. It's great. It's not all fun games, don't get me wrong. But the thing is, you don't know when and if you're going to have another shot at the title.
Yeah.
And with some having much more yesterdays than tomorrows. What a beautiful sentence, huh?
That's a wonderful way of putting it.
Yeah. It's going to hurt to see one side loses, no matter who.
Oh yeah, you don't feel good for the lose. You don't feel you feel bad for the lose. You always do.
No, but this is even more. I think even more than usual because of.
So we are in the final 4-ish minutes of the show, Moshe. So we're going to get down to breaking it down. Where we'll leave our picks to the final minute. We have a little timer here. Where is the winning and losing of the game?
Oh wow! I think that if Monaco will play to the level that they played on Friday, they are winning the championship.
That's a bold statement. Okay, tell me why.
Well, because their level of execution and focus on both ends of the floor for 40 minutes, you didn't have those mini drops that you can expect during a game. Like they were lasered in
the whole time.
Exactly for 40 minutes. And just as, the Monaco Olympiacos game, you never felt, not even for 1 second, that Olympiacos could maybe even make a run towards something.
Yeah. And
you can make the same argument, perhaps, for the.
But the thing is, there was that wobble with Fenerbahce. Yeah.
Exactly. Like you had that concern, but then you're like, okay, no, they're not good enough for tonight. Like with Fenerbahce. Yeah. So it's like you got both dominant performances, but kind of we've seen what Monaco are capable of doing.
Okay, so I'm Fenerbahce. What do I have to do to stop Monaco being that perfect?
Sorry?
I'm Fenerbahce. What do I have to do to stop Fenerbahce being that perfect? Say Monaco being that perfect.
What do I have to do?
To restrict and not allow them to play to that level.
Let Wade Baldwin be Wade Baldwin.
Well, big, bold statements given. He wasn't exactly at his best against Pau.
Listen, he had 5 assists, 2 steals, right? I heard what people were saying, but at no point in time did I got that vibe that he forced himself upon the game. At no point in time did I feel like, yeah, listen, I was okay with each and every shot he took. Okay. To me, it was great. I would rather you take a good shot and miss it than look at the stat sheet, see, well, the guy finished with like 0 for 30, and you're like, damn.
Yeah.
But it's not just Wade. I think that Fener will definitely need Devin Hall because he proved to be more than immense in the semis. Mm-hmm. Like, in general, all of them will have to be all of them. I think it's a cliche, but it's going to take a team effort. And we cannot overlook a beautiful story by Eric McCollum. Yeah. And the reason is the guy started his career 2nd division in Israel.
Yeah.
So from that point,
and was going to be 2nd division in Turkey. It was looking like.
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't like he wanted to be, but it looked like as if that was not what was written in the stars.
Yeah.
And I'm putting it mildly and beautifully. So from 2nd division in Israel back in
a while ago.
Yes. To the point where at age 37, you're becoming one of the X. Yeah, like you're getting to the point where you're somewhat of an X factor that no one saw coming in the finals game, in the semifinals game. And you know what? Maybe that's a fourth slip right here. Yeah. Also in the finals game, who knows?
So okay, we're going.
What picks? All right, let's
go. I'll just say one thing briefly. For me, the winning and losing a game is about that restriction. Mm-hmm. Whoever can make the other more predictable is going to get the W. So Moshe, let's get your pick.
I'll say what everyone else said today, and that is like Fener are the favorites, but it's not going to be easy. It's not a clear-cut win. It might end up being, but I think Fener. I think it's like for some reason I don't know why. Maybe it's because of the fact that Fener had way more many Final Fours, but don't overlook the fact that Monaco, that's a team on the rise, and they are like they're making. Can I say the S word? Like
the one that ends with hit?
Yes.
Yeah, well, you said it, so now we move on.
No, but they make it happen.
Yeah.
They make it happen, and so but I will sum it up with one sentence. Remember this one thing, and I said it to Coach Charles during the press conference after the semis. your team kept finding ways, and not just in the semis, but throughout the whole season. Throughout the whole season. So if Monaco wants to get them, they got to play for 40 minutes just like they did in the semis, which is why I'm taking Fener for this one.
So this is going to sound weird for a second. I'm going to say very openly about my health. I openly, as anyone who follows the channel, have anxiety issues. I deal with anxiety. And my anxiety is screaming at me that my mental decision here is wrong. All these emotions are telling me you're betting against what he's going to do. Are you betting against this? Are you betting against that? But everything rational in me is saying, yes, I am. Much as I could totally see Vassilis Spanoulis pulling off some genius, brilliant moves in this game, I just think Fener have ways to counter everything, and that's why I'm picking Fenerbahce.
Which means Monaco, congratulations.
Yeah, we've jinxed you. So anyway, listen, thanks everybody who's tuned in. Obviously, we'll both be doing coverage across our own sites and places throughout the Final Four and after the Final Four and in through the summer and all the other basketball. If you haven't followed either of us already, find Moses B1. Obviously, Ball in Europe on most platforms. Trail around and listen. Thank all of you
thank Euroleague, obviously.
Thank Euroleague for having us here.
For helping us every time, whatever we need.
And we'll have our little mini movie sometime next week. Will be going up. Okie dokie. Until next time. See you soon.